Well, the figures the ILO's put out today are that in 2020, this pandemic could cost us, on different growth assumptions, between 5.3 million jobs in the best case scenario, up to nearly 25 million jobs in the worst case. And just put that in perspective, in the 2008-2009 global financial crisis, we lost 22 million jobs. So you see, potentially at least, we're in the same territory as we were back then. I think the real thing we have to all keep in mind is there's nothing inevitable about all of this. So much depends on our capacity to put in place the right policy responses. The ILO thinks we need to act in three areas. Firstly, and I think many workers, many enterprises are living through this today, we have to get things right at the workplace. So we have to protect workers, basic occupational safety and health considerations, the right sort of safety material has to be available. Then we have to look at alternative ways of working, telework, which is now coming to many of us. We have to get this right at the level of the enterprise. And then nationally, we need to support enterprises in difficulty, and let's face it, we know that big enterprises and small ones are facing real difficulties in keeping on going as their revenues are being broken off. We have to protect jobs as well. Workers and employers need to negotiate together on how to retain people in their jobs. All of this has to go on. We have to make sure that social protection is available to everybody who needs it. If you're being asked to self-isolate because of this pandemic, you need to be sure you've got sick pay that you can rely on in those circumstances. And then and finally, in situations when labour markets and economies are under such pressure, we need the right fiscal, the right monetary policies. And we're seeing many governments actually applying, and in quite big quantities, the right types of fiscal stimulus. But what I think we need to look to now is a type of global coordination, the international common purpose that was so evident in 2008, 2009, indeed with the creation of the G20. And through the G20 in those very difficult times, we actually made sure that the worst did not happen. We did not have a 1930s scenario. And I think that lesson has to be applied in our current circumstances. We have some very dark prospects ahead of us, but it's not inevitable, and a great deal depends on our capacity, our common purpose, to make sure that the worst scenario does not materialize.